Welcome to this explainer. Look, I am incredibly excited you're here today because we are about to go on a pretty wild financial journey. We're going to unpack exactly how creators actually monetize our digital attention. We'll look at how a seemingly brilliant idea led to an absolute mania, a pretty devastating crash, and finally, what the surviving, grounded future actually looks like. If you've ever wondered how your likes, views, and fandom translate into real dollars and why crypto tried to turn all of that into a literal stock market, well, you are definitely in the right place.
So you know the golden rule of the internet, right? It used to be super simple. If you aren't paying for the product, you are the product. You gave Facebook your attention, they sold ads against it, and you got, a few likes in return. Simple enough. But then the creator economy exploded. YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Suddenly, you weren't just the product anymore, you were the factory producing the actual content, and that shift, it leads us to a fascinating but honestly highly problematic dynamic for anyone trying to actually make a living online.
Let's put this into perspective. In Web 2, the big platforms take a massive cut. On YouTube, for example, the platform takes a 45% tax right off the top of ad revenues. Think about that. You make the content, you build the audience from scratch, and the platform takes nearly half. Because of models exactly like this all across the internet, the stark reality is that 97% of creators are basically living below the poverty line. Almost all the revenue gets scooped up by the top 3%.
All right, here's our roadmap for today. 1. The monetization problem. 2. The 2021 boom. 3. The crash in the law. 4. Models that survive. And 5. The 2030 blueprint. Let's dive right in.
Part 1. The monetization problem, or, as I like to think of it, renting the audience.
Okay, let's take a quick trip down memory lane to see how we even got here. Look at the evolution of creator pay. Back in Web 1, you made a website, slapped some banner ads on it, and honestly, you just hoped for enough scale. The everyday individuals lost, and the big media companies won. Then came Web 2, which we just talked about. Platforms gave you incredible reach, but they completely owned the relationship, meaning a single algorithm tweak could take your income to zero overnight. Patreon helped out by letting fans pay you directly, but fans still had no actual ownership. So enter the Web3 pitch. What if your earliest fans could finally own the upside? What if you could buy a token in your favorite creator early on, and as they blew up, your investment actually grew with them?
To really grasp why this pitch was so intoxicating, we have to compare the two models side by side. On the left, you've got Patreon. It's stable, sure, but it's just a monthly expense for a fan with zero financial upside. But on the right, social tokens. This was pitched as an absolute paradigm shift. For creators, selling a token meant a massive injection of upfront cash. It was almost like raising startup equity for yourself. And for the fans? Yeah, it was a volatile gamble, but it offered potentially a 10x upside, plus exclusive status and access. Essentially, it traded stability for pure speculation.
Which brings us to part 2, the 2021 boom, when attention had a ticker.
Now, the crucial thing to remember here is that for about 12 months, this idea felt completely inevitable, like it was definitely going to take over the world. Take a look at this number, $4, $4. That was the peak price of the RAC token, launched by the Grammy-winning DJ RAC. He literally just airdropped these tokens to his fans on Twitch and Bandcamp, and at its peak, that token gave him a staggering $40 million market cap. Communities like Friends with Benefits were doing the exact same thing, throwing these lavish token-gated parties in Paris and LA with their token hitting $200. I mean, it was pure, unadulterated mania.
But as we all know, gravity always wins. That $4 RAC token? Yeah, it eventually plummeted down to 2 cents. That is a massive 99.5% drop. Why? Well, the creator eventually stopped posting as much, and it turned out there was no actual fundamental demand to buy the token other than just pure speculation. People quickly realized that giving fans access alone, without real sustained utility, just isn't enough to prop up a multi-million-dollar valuation.
And that leads right into part 3, the crash in the law. Gravity hits.
So let's break down exactly why literally 95% of these projects just evaporated. First up, there was no real value accrual. Holding a token didn't actually give you a cut of a creator's real-world YouTube revenue. Second, you had these mercenary fans, basically just crypto traders who bought in just to flip the coin and dump it on the actual loyal fans. Third, creator fatigue. Trying to manage a token's price became an exhausting 24/7 job. Then the broader bear market crashed, totally killing the speculative appetite. But honestly, perhaps the biggest killer of all was the chilling effect from the regulators.
because this inevitably snowballed into a massive legal problem. Have you ever heard of the Howey test? It's the framework regulators use to define what makes something a security. It basically boils down to this. If people invest money, expecting a profit primarily from your work, that's a security. Suddenly, all these creators realize they might be illegally issuing unregistered securities to their fans. If a creator promised you a cut of their future income, like early pioneer Alex Mosmej experimented with, well, the lawyer starts sweating profusely. Getting registered costs millions, and failing to do it, that could mean jail time.
And hey, if the SEC didn't scare you, the IRS absolutely would. Imagine this absolute tax nightmare: phantom income. The IRS taxes token airdrops as income at the exact time you receive them. So if you were airdropped a bunch of tokens when they were artificially pumped to $4, you owed taxes on that $4 value. Even when the token crashed to 2 cents the very next year, you still owe the IRS real, hard fiat money for a digital asset that had completely flatlined. It literally bankrupted people.
Okay, deep breath. Let's look at the bright side in part 4, models that survive the ashes.
Let's separate the total noise from the actual signal here. On the left, we've got the failed models. Buy my coin? Dead. Direct revenue share? Deemed illegally toxic. And bonding curves, like the ones on platforms like Friend.tech that acted way more like a casino where the last buyer just got totally wrecked, yeah, those failed too. But look on the right at what's actually working. Simple NFT access passes to real-world events. Think Gary V's VFriends, those are doing great. Direct tips and bounties on platforms like Lens and Farcaster actually generated $50 million in 2024. Why? Because they're just digital patronage, no wild speculation. And on-chain monthly subscriptions, where the creator truly, finally owns their subscriber list, those are thriving right now as a much better version of Patreon.
All right, let's look to the horizon. Part 5, the 2030 blueprint, the end of speculation.
So here it is. Let's walk through this clear, completely hype-free blueprint for the modern creator. Step 1. You still build your massive audience off-chain, on platforms with billions of eyeballs like YouTube or Instagram. Step 2. You capture that audience by owning the relationship. Get their email address, get their digital wallet address. Step 3. You monetize primarily through reliable subscriptions, not highly volatile crypto coins. And Step 4. If you use tokens at all, you use them strictly for your absolute superfans as a fun access pass, making zero financial promises. It's all about building a portable reputation now, not just a speculative ticker symbol.
But listen, despite all this incredible new technology, we still need a bit of a reality check. Human nature, it hasn't changed. The 1% rule still holds entirely true. Historically on the internet, 1% create, 9% comment and engage, and 90% just lurk. In the creator economy of 2030, about 1% will earn a full-time living, 9% will make some nice side money, and 90% will make absolutely nothing. The tools are getting infinitely better for sure, and the creator middle class is probably growing to maybe 1 million people earning $50K a year, but it's all still heavily governed by the Pareto principle.
To kind of wrap all of this up, I want you to focus on this quote from our source material. Honestly, it just hits the nail on the head. The coin was the distraction, the community was the point. Social tokens originally asked a really valid question, right? Shouldn't early fans get to share in the upside? But artificially pumping a token was just the completely wrong answer. The right answer was always about owning your relationship with your fans, proving your reputation, and getting paid directly for the actual value you provide.
So, I'll leave you with this one final thought. We've seen exactly how platforms extract all the value, how wild speculation destroyed well-meaning communities, and how authentic connection is slowly but surely rebuilding them from the ashes. If the coin was just a giant distraction this whole time, what is your digital attention actually worth today? Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.